All right, Spanks here. Today we're going to be talking about Hunter Greene, and he signed a 6-year, $53 million contract extension with the Reds the other day after just pitching one season in the big leagues at age 22. The contract has a seventh-year option, team option for $21 million. So if that's picked up, he'll be hitting free agency at age 30 in the offseason, going into the 2030 season. So let's look into his numbers a little bit today. We don't have a ton of data to work from because he's pretty fresh in the league, but there's a lot of really promising things here for this pitcher, and he's been a big prospect for a long time. Most people will remember him as the number 2 pick back in 2017. And yeah, big player, big contract, big fastball. Let's look into it. So if we're starting, and we're just going to kind of look at his 2022 numbers for now. He's made 4 starts so far in 23, and it's been pretty promising so far, but I think we want to focus mostly on the 22 numbers. So the first thing that kind of pops off the page when you look at this is the fastball velocity. And yeah, he's got an average fastball of 99 miles per hour, which is just unheard of for a starting pitcher. Really big numbers there, and his K percentage on top of that and his whiff percentage is just crazy high. He's got elite spin on his fastball in the 81st percentile. And yeah, it really allows him to blow guys away. When we're looking into his numbers a little bit here, ERA of 4.44 last year, expected a 4, so a bit of bad luck for him. His walk rate was a little bit concerning at 9%. But yeah, that elite K rate was really good. And guys don't hit too well against him, and expecting batting average of 220. I think really where we start to see a little bit of concern in terms of his first year was a hard hit percentage of 40.1%, and his barrel rate's pretty high. So we're going to look into that a little bit later on. The thing I want to also quickly focus on as we talk about is walk percentage. That was improving in his few starts this year so far. So we're seeing improvements from Greene. He took a ball off the leg the other day, but hoping it's nothing too serious. So yeah, let's look into 2022 pitch distribution. So he's a 3-pitch pitcher at this point, and he throws that booming fastball at about 54% of the time. Then he's got a slider that he throws 41% of the time, then a changeup that he only throws 5% of the time. So he's really a 2-pitch pitcher at this point. And as we unpack this a little bit, I think it's going to become pretty clear that he needs to add a pitch to his mix if he's going to really take that next step and possibly be an all-star someday. So let's kind of scroll down a little bit here, and let's look at his fastball numbers. So in 2022, average of 98.9, 99 miles per hour. Hitters hit 261 against it, which is good. Like, that's good for the hitters. Not ideal for Hunter Greene. Like, that's a pretty good batting average against a specific pitch. And their slug was even higher. So hitters really kind of got around on his fastball last year. And I think what happened is we can look down here at his slider, which he was throwing 41% of the times. Hitters couldn't touch him. They could not touch his slider last year. His run value is -5 with that pitch, so solid pitch for him. And I think what was happening is, since it was basically just a 2-pitch pitcher, hitters were just sitting on that fastball. They were accepting the fact that they're gonna get beat by the slider. They're gonna whiff on the slider, and they were just gonna sit on the fastball then instead. So I think as we said earlier, what Greene's going to need to do is develop that third pitch so he can really keep guys guessing. Whether that's working on that changeup, or we've talked about he had a cutter that he was throwing back in 2021 when he was in the minors. I don't think he ever used it in game or anything, but could be a good pitch for him, and just to vary the speed a little bit, I think is going to really help him take that next step. But like we said, we're talking about a 22-year-old pitcher here. So I'm not too concerned about any of this. Like, he's got a lot of time to figure it out, and he was just getting his feet wet last year in the MLB. These are really good numbers for a rookie. And when we talk about like barrel rate and hard hit percentage, like when you throw this hard, you're going to have a high hard hit percentage. It's just inevitable. When guys make contact on you, they're going to hit it hard. So there's plenty of evidence of pitchers. Garrett Cole comes to mind, of that, just like they throw hard and they have high hard hit percentages against them, but they're still really successful in the league. So yeah, I really like the prospects of Greene going forward. We're going to look for that third pitch in future years and see if it comes out. And yeah, I think if we're looking at comparables, there's really not many. There's very few pitchers that have signed with this few of games under their belt. I think the only one that's had less was Spencer Strider. So it's a rare occurrence that something like this happens. In terms of dollar values, I know the Reds or the Rockies sign Antonio Senzatella for 6 year, $50 million. And yeah, you don't even want to get into that contract. That looks brutal. And I don't know, who knows what's going on in Colorado. One final thing I'm going to mention about Hunter Greene, I think where he's really gotten beat so far and why this ERA was a bit high last year at 4.44 is the home run ball. And this kind of goes with what we were talking about. He's got a high barrel rate. Guys are connecting off him, high launch angle off of him. And guys are just connecting on his fastball. We look at this chart here. This is home runs per 9, the highest out of anyone in the league last year with a minimum 80 innings pitched. And the top is Josiah Gray, and that's just brutal numbers. He's way ahead of everyone. But at 6 here, we see Hunter Greene. So he only threw 125 innings last year, but he gave up 24 home runs. So he's going to want to limit the long ball, and that'll come over time as he gets more control. He's able to locate the ball a little bit better. In my opinion, when we're looking at the Reds here, this is a great deal for them. This buys out 2 of his free agent years, so I like building out that depth. They got a stable of young arms just starting to hit the big leagues. You got Nick Lodolo as well and Graham Ashcraft. The Reds are really just starting to build. They're still a long ways out from being any sort of a contender, but they're on the right track, and they got some really good young arms, some good young bats coming up as well. So I like what they're starting out with. I like that they've been doing a rebuild. They didn't stay in that middle ground for too long, and before you know it, they're really going to bounce back. And I'm hoping eventually they'll be players on the free agent market, because I know their franchise does get dogged quite a bit for never really being active in free agency. But yeah, otherwise, Hunter Greene, exciting pitcher, very fun to watch. I recommend you go and watch one of his games if you haven't yet. He's just got elite stuff. And yeah, next time I'm thinking we might do a breakdown of Yandy Diaz's hot start, unless the new contract comes down the pipes. So yeah, stay tuned, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.